Have you ever watched someone knitting or crocheting and been envious of the beautiful work they produce? Perhaps you've admired a handmade scarf or blanket and thought, I wish I could make something like that. Well, I have wonderful news for you. You absolutely can. Hello friends, and welcome to today's video where we're going to explore the wonderful world of knitting and crochet, especially how these crafts can bring joy, purpose, and creativity into our lives after 60. You know, retirement and our golden years offer us something truly precious. Time. Time to explore new interests, revisit old hobbies, or finally learn that skill we've always admired from afar. Knitting and crochet are perfect examples of crafts that not only produce beautiful, useful items, but also benefit our well-being in so many ways. Did you know that the rhythmic motion of knitting and crocheting has been shown to reduce stress and anxiety? It's true. These crafts can lower your heart rate and blood pressure, similar to the effects of meditation. And that's just the beginning of the benefits. The focus required helps keep our minds sharp, while creating something with our own hands gives us a wonderful sense of accomplishment. In this video, we'll go over simple ways to begin your journey into the world of wool crafts, including the inexpensive materials you'll need to get started, basic techniques to master first, and how to progress at your own comfortable pace. I promise, by the end of our time together, you'll feel inspired and equipped to pick up those needles or hooks and create something beautiful. Let's start with the essentials, what you'll need to begin. The beauty of knitting and crochet is that the startup costs are relatively minimal. For knitting, you'll need a pair of knitting needles. If you're just starting out, I recommend choosing medium-sized needles, around the UK size of 5 or 6, 5mm. These are comfortable to hold and work well with most beginner-friendly wools. For crochet, you'll need just one hook. A UK size 6 in 5mm is perfect for beginners. Next, you'll need wool. Just 1 or 2 balls to begin with. Look for medium weight wool, often labelled as Aran wool or worsted weight or number 4 on the packaging. This type of wool is easier to work with when you're learning because it's not too thin or too bulky. Choose light colours for your first projects. Darker wools can make it difficult to see your stitches as you learn. And don't worry about getting the most expensive wool for your first attempts. A simple, affordable acrylic wool is perfectly fine while you're mastering the basics. You might also want a pair of scissors dedicated to your wool work, and a large-eyed, blunt needle for weaving in loose ends when you finish a project. A small notebook to keep track of your progress can be helpful too, especially if you find yourself enjoying these crafts and wanting to try more complex patterns later on. Speaking of patterns, you don't need anything complicated to start. In fact, I recommend beginning with a simple scarf or dishcloth that only requires you to practice the basic knit stitch or single crochet stitch. Once you've mastered these foundations, you can gradually add new stitches and techniques to your repertoire. Would you like to know how to get started with this useful hobby yourself? Perhaps the best way is to find a guide, someone who can show you the ropes in person. Do you have a friend or family member who knits or crochets? Most crafters are delighted to share their passion with beginners. Invite them over for tea and ask if they might give you a short lesson. Seeing the movements in person can be incredibly helpful when you're first learning. If you don't know any crafters personally, check your local community centre, retirement home, or wool shop. Many offer beginner classes specifically designed for adults, where you can learn at a comfortable pace among peers. These classes are also wonderful for making new friends who share your interest. The social aspect of crafting circles can be just as rewarding as the craft itself. Now that we've covered the basic supplies you'll need and how to find guidance, let's talk about setting realistic expectations for yourself as you begin this journey. Remember, learning any new skill takes time and patience, especially with our mature fingers that might not be as nimble as they once were. The beauty of taking up knitting or crochet at this stage of life is that we can work at our own pace, without the pressures of deadlines or perfection. Your first attempts might not be perfect, and that's absolutely fine. I still remember my first scarf. It had uneven edges and a few dropped stitches, but I wore it proudly because I made it myself. Those little imperfections are what make handmade items special. They tell the story of your learning journey. Let's talk about which craft might be right for you. Knitting or crochet. Both are wonderful, but they do have some differences that might make one more appealing to you than the other. Knitting uses 2 needles and creates a fabric that's often stretchier and more flowing. It's excellent for garments like sweaters and socks. Crochet uses just 1 hook and tends to create a slightly more solid fabric, perfect for blankets, those adorable stuffed animals, and home decor items. Many people find that crochet is a bit easier to learn initially, because you're only working with 1 hook and 1 active stitch at a time. If your hands experience stiffness or arthritis, you might prefer crochet for this reason. On the other hand, once you get the rhythm of knitting, many find it becomes almost automatic, almost meditative. Why not try both and see which one speaks to you? Or like many of us, you might end up enjoying both crafts for different projects. When you're ready to begin, I suggest starting with a simple project that lets you practice just 1 basic stitch over and over. For knitters, a garter stitch scarf is perfect. That's just the basic knit stitch worked on every row. For crocheters, a single crochet dishcloth gives you plenty of practice with the fundamental stitch. These projects allow you to focus on getting comfortable with the movements and tension, without worrying about complicated pattern reading. Speaking of tension, this refers to how tightly or loosely you hold your yarn as you work, and it's one of the most important aspects of either craft. In the beginning, you might find your tension is uneven, causing your project to be wider in some places and narrower in others. Don't worry. This is completely normal and improves naturally with practice. Some people tend to work very tightly when they're learning because they're concentrating so hard. Try to remain relaxed. If you find your hands cramping, that's a sign to loosen up a bit. One of the wonderful things about taking up knitting or crochet at this stage of life is that these crafts can be adapted to accommodate our changing bodies. If you have arthritis or limited hand mobility, there are ergonomic hooks and needles with larger cushioned handles that are much easier to grip. Some knitters with joint pain find that using circular needles for all projects, even flat ones, helps distribute the weight of the work more evenly, reducing strain on the wrists. Let me share a little secret that helped me when I was starting out. Don't be afraid to put your work down and come back to it later. Unlike many other activities, knitting and crochet can be picked up and set aside whenever you like. Work on your project for 15 minutes while watching the evening news, then set it down when your favorite show comes on. This approach not only prevents fatigue, but also turns your craft into a pleasant daily ritual rather than a demanding task. The social aspect of these fiber arts cannot be overstated. Throughout history, people have gathered together to knit and crochet, sharing techniques, patterns, and life stories. Today, many communities have stitch and chat groups that meet regularly at libraries, coffee shops, or community centres. These gatherings offer wonderful opportunities for friendship and learning. Even if you're not typically a joiner, consider giving one of these groups a try. There's something uniquely comfortable about talking with others while your hands are busy creating. If getting out to a group isn't feasible for you, the online knitting and crochet community is vibrant and welcoming. Websites like Ravelry connect millions of fiber enthusiasts around the world, allowing you to share your projects, find patterns, and join discussion groups. Many seniors find great joy in connecting with fellow crafters online, exchanging tips and encouragement across distances. Beyond the joy of creating beautiful items and connecting with others, knitting and crochet offer significant benefits for our brain health. Neurologists have found that the combination of mathematical thinking, creativity, and fine motor skills involved in these crafts creates a powerful workout for our minds. Each stitch requires concentration and precision, especially when you're learning or following a pattern. This mental engagement is exactly the kind of activity that helps maintain cognitive function as we age. Have you noticed that when you're fully absorbed in a task you enjoy, time seems to slip away? Psychologists call this state flow, and it's one of the most beneficial mental states we can experience. Knitting and crochet are perfect for inducing this flow state. As your hands work steadily and your project grows row by row, you may find yourself feeling peacefully present, worries temporarily set aside. In our busy, often anxious world, this kind of mindful activity is incredibly valuable for mental well-being. Many of my friends who've taken up these crafts tell me they've noticed improvements in their manual dexterity and finger strength over time. The gentle, repetitive movements keep our hands limber and can actually help manage the symptoms of conditions like arthritis. Of course, it's important to pace yourself. Start with short sessions and gradually build up as your hands become accustomed to the new movements. And remember, you don't need to rush. One of the luxuries of our age is the freedom to enjoy the process without urgency. Another aspect that brings particular joy to many crafters is creating gifts for loved ones. There's something deeply satisfying about presenting a grandchild with a hand-knitted hat or a crocheted blanket for a new baby in the family. These aren't just gifts, they're heirlooms, treasures imbued with love in every stitch. Even simple items like scarves or dishcloths become special when someone knows you made them by hand, especially for them. If you're feeling inspired to give knitting or crochet a try, but still uncertain about where to begin, consider starting with what experts call a sampler project. This might be a simple scarf where you practice different stitches in blocks, giving you a chance to learn various techniques without committing to a complex pattern. Each section becomes a personal achievement, a record of your growing skills. And don't worry about making something useful right away. The learning itself is valuable and enjoyable. Your local library is another wonderful resource that many people overlook. Most libraries carry a selection of knitting and crochet books with clear instructions and project ideas specifically designed for beginners. Some even offer free patterns you can photocopy or download. While there are countless tutorials online, having a physical book can be easier to follow, especially when you're first learning. As we come to the end of our time together, I want to share something I've observed over years of teaching these crafts to people of all ages. Those who approach knitting and crochet with curiosity and patience, who allow themselves the freedom to learn at their own pace, and even make mistakes along the way, invariably find the most joy in the process. They create not just beautiful items, but a new dimension of fulfillment in their lives. Remember, there's no right or wrong way to be a knitter or crocheter. Some people enjoy making the same simple patterns over and over, finding comfort in the familiarity. Others love challenging themselves with increasingly complex designs. Some craft daily, while others pick up their needles or hooks only occasionally. Whatever approach feels right for you is the perfect approach. I hope this video has inspired you to pick up some wool and give knitting or crochet a try. The world of fibre arts welcomes you with open arms, regardless of your experience or skill level. If you've enjoyed this information and found it helpful, please like this video and subscribe to our channel for more content designed to enrich your life and keep you engaged in new learning. I'd love to hear about your experiences with knitting or crochet in the comments below. Are you already a dedicated crafter, or will this be your first foray into the world of yarn? Whatever your story, remember that every expert was once a beginner, and the journey of learning is just as rewarding as the beautiful things you'll create along the way. Until next time, happy crafting, and here's to living creatively at every age. And of course, if you'd like to look at other crafts and hobbies in your retirement, please click the link to see what else we have on our channel. And if there is a subject you'd like us to cover, please leave a comment below. Thanks for watching, and goodbye from me.